maybe I should start with a beer. So, you start or I start?
I start.
You start.
Good.
Enjoy.
So, hi, this is Tamás.
Jerzy.
We are in Mörbisch am See, Burgenland, Austria.
No. Is it?
Actually, what we wanted to talk about is the DJI Ronin-M together with the C100 Mark II from Canon. Yeah, the first thing which we wanted to test is actually how to balance this more or less big camera on the small DJI Ronin-M.
Which is falling apart now.
Of course you see now it's not turned on, the motors. I'll do it just right now. I already did some pre-balancing, so more or less that's what you can do without the motors. So it's put it, okay, maybe it's a bit front heavy, but for this video it's enough. It's also the pan axis, the roll axis is also enough. Actually here in the pan axis I'm completely at the back and I'm still too front heavy, so more or less the motors have to work a bit, but it should be fine. So now just turn it on here at the back. And wait for it to turn on, it just takes a few seconds.
What's the weight of it?
So now it's turned on and it's completely balanced. So you see if I cannot really...
That's solid.
It's that solid.
I killed it.
But it's always
But it's coming back.
Yeah, yeah.
It's...
You're making the motors work a bit. But,
Well,
no worries. And if I then start, because there's always this, the motor power which are using, there are 3 motors for each axis. And then I can go just simply to the DJI Assistant app, which is connected via Bluetooth to the gimbal itself. And then it's...
Yeah, I need my glasses because I don't see it. So, it's Bluetooth or the Wi-Fi?
It's Bluetooth, so it's not Wi-Fi connection, so it's an internal Bluetooth connection. And you see it's already, of course...
you paired it before,
Yeah. And so it's now connected, and I go to the motor settings.
But that's the application...
Just made for the DJI Ronin.
So you have to install it.
Yeah, it's also available for iOS, or which I have now.
But you have some, so this is Android.
This is Android device,
Okay.
yeah. There is a rule more or less from DJI which says that these numbers shouldn't go above 10, because then the motors are just simply working too hard.
Too hard.
And now we see here that
and then the battery goes
faster, and
yeah.
the balancing is not that proper, so that's also a thing. So if you're moving too fast, maybe the balance goes off and then you're not completely stable.
So what do we see here? The pan axis,
That's what I want to say.
hang on,
you look at the bottom here, and then you have the pan, the tilt, and the roll axis separately.
We are actually in a restaurant. We were shooting some test footage
outside
and inside, but the weather became sort of wet and grey and cloudy, so we came here to the restaurant, Sommer restaurant here in Mörbisch.
So from the statics we see here now that pan axis is more or less not consumption.
Now don't touch the table because I see the pan is changing.
Of course it's changing.
But that means it's trying to correct it, yeah?
Yeah. So more or less the pan axis has no power consumption at all. Roll axis also is just -1, so I waited with the pre-balancing, so manually balancing, I made a pretty good job there. And of course the tilt axis, because this camera is very heavy and I have this external wireless focusing system on, which we'll talk later about. And so this is now at +3, +2 to +3. So that's more or less in the stable position. Of course, if I'm moving, these numbers will increase a bit, because then the motors have to react. So what I will test now is just to do this auto-tune stability.
30. It's my...
What I simply will try now is just to do this auto-tune stability, which more or less calibrates the system, the 3 motors, to the weight which is actually on it.
Because now it's already, everything is activated.
Everything is activated.
So it's on. We could just take it off the stands,
and
the
just
rig,
go,
and just go on and keep.
But of
keep
course,
shooting.
to make it more precise, I do this auto-tune stability, and you will hear now this awesome wobbling.
I don't think they will hear because we're in a
course they will.
restaurant.
This for free.
Can you
So
do it again?
So it's now I go through all the axes and more or less checking
So
how
this
much
is like
the weight
calibration.
Calibration, yeah.
So if I, so assume this is like this is 85mm lens, which is like it's a prime lens. But if you have like a zoom lens, which you certain portions, well, even if it doesn't really stick out, but the weight changes.
You have to recalibrate.
This should be recalibrated after every focal length change.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, but if you don't, okay, if you have like 24, which
20,
we did test 2470, and you were changing the zoom, the focal length,
that's the motors for.
You didn't calibrate, and the motors were able to counterbalance. I mean,
to counterbalance.
work with the difference. I mean, were corrected accordingly.
Yeah.
Well, we still have to try it with the 70-200, which might be interesting.
Might be too heavy, but for all the standard lenses at 2470, 24105, for sure it's working. If you set it up more or less in the mid-range, so if you have 2470 and you set it up at 50, and then you can still move to 24 and 70.
Yeah, but I'm interested with 70-200.
Yeah.
Which, so it's up
worth
here basically, and it's a bit heavy. Actually, the 70-200 is a bit heavy, but the 85 is quite heavy as well. So it's just that the 70-200 is way longer. And the question is, how would it react? But the test will come. We're not doing it now, but it will come.
Yeah. Now the result of the calibration more or less is stayed the same.
So you should roughly balance it before you switch on the engines.
Yeah,
or
as good as
power,
you can.
Yeah?
As good
much as you can. Like with a classic Steadicam, just try to balance it
manually.
As good as possible, as well as you can, and then switch on the engine. So this thing shouldn't work 100%. I mean, it's not like you just put the camera and it's just hanging down, up and down, and then you switch on the engine, and it would do the magic for you.
Time-wise, because many people ask maybe how long it takes actually to assemble this camera. So all together now.
Danke, Wiedersehen.
So all together now, with putting the camera on the plate, with putting this wireless focus on, even if you forget the wireless focus, it took good half an hour to get to this point where it's more or less balanced and ready to shoot. For a new camera, a heavier camera, you did definitely 30 minutes, I think.
We needed longer in reality.
For sure.
Because we tried different lens.
Yeah.
We started...
As I said, for a new setup, you definitely need at least 30 minutes.
More. In reality, it was good hour. Okay, let's do a cut. I'm going to the toilet. But talking about the C100, in order to mount it on here on this
DJI
bracket
Ronin,
on the Ronin, we have to remove this handle, which is normally quite useful for filming, but it wouldn't fit here. Simply, so this has to go out. Period.
So more or less the camera as it is, just the body with the lens put on it, and then ready to shoot. Another thing is that I have this quick release plate on the Ronin plate itself, because of I was working at home with a smaller camera.
Does it come together with the Ronin,
no.
or this is like a separate?
It's like the camera. It also doesn't come with the Ronin.
Really? I wish.
And maybe in this case, because C100 is C100 Mark II is pretty high. Maybe it's better to just remove here the quick release plate and just automatically attach it, so directly attach it to the Ronin blade itself.
I like it. I like the sound. Cool.
I mean, for focusing, you need an additional screen, so extra screen for the guy who operates it with the wireless focus, because most of the situations you have no real space to look at this internal screen. So because it's hiding from the.
Well, in reality, you hold it this way,
Yeah.
and you
And
don't
there's
want
no
to
way,
really
yeah.
like. It's a bit clumsy. Not a bit. It's extremely
It is.
clumsy.
Yeah. And so
So
then
we
you
need
have
an
the
external screen,
external
monitor,
screen,
yeah.
which goes out from the C100 Mark II, goes out through HDMI. And now the problem with this setup was really that I have this quick release plate on it, and so this HDMI output.
It's like good 1 centimeter
even
higher
even
than.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this HDMI output is perfectly at the height of this bracket.
It's exactly
at the
in the-
height.
yeah.
So if I just take a HDMI cable and I want to plug it in, there is no way. So either I just disable this quick release plate, or I get a HDMI
But
with
if
this
you
L
take the
bracket.
quick release plate, you can attach it directly to the Ronin.
yeah.
Ronin.
Ronin. If not, then I just have to buy. There is for HDMI cables like this L bracket, more or
Yeah,
less.
but it. Danke. Now, what's important here, and this is a difference, one of the differences, many differences between the Mark I and Mark II, this viewfinder here. On Mark I, there was sort of a viewfinder. It was not so
High.
It was not really not so high, because the height is not really. But this piece was not sticking out so much. And in a way, it's a restriction for the DJI, but in terms of filming, it's a huge help. We removed here this rubber like cover, which to block the sun or something. But actually for us was also we wanted to check really how much space here we have. So it works, and you can still go up and down to a certain extent, and so the C100 Mark II
Fits on the Ronin.
fits here perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, so more or less you can see that C100 fits on the Ronin. And
Mark II.
maybe I'll just simply do some test footage too, because okay, now it's standing and it's working. We'll have to look how it works when I'm really like in action, like moving. If it's too much interruption here for the gimbal, or if it's just simply working.
Anyway, we'll do more stuff, more tests, and we'll try to kill it in one way or another. In the rain, we will not drop it in water.
For sure not. We will try
unless
everything.
it happens by accident. But if you don't try it, you never know. And up to now, I love it.
Stay tuned for them.
Have a good one, yeah.
Yeah. This was Tamás and Jerzy from Merbisch.
From Merbisch,
I'm
I'm
Untitled
Ze.
Chapter.
No,
Very
from
cool.
Merbisch, I'm Ze. By noise, Ze. Doesn't matter. By the like, yeah. And have a good one. Simply stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.